What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video in this DaVinci Resolve tutorial. First, I want to open this video up and apologize, mainly because it has been a while since I have made a YouTube video, only because I actually run a video production company outside of YouTube full time, and that is kind of like the bulk of my time. And I really do YouTube to kind of give back to you guys, okay? But I did have a large project that spanned several days, and so I got caught up there. But now I am back in the grind of YouTube and giving you guys as much information and knowledge that I can impart and kind of empower you guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic, which is going to be the Fairlight tab. Today we're going to finally take a tour on the Fairlight tab. Now we have left color has left the building. We will be revisiting it, especially in the future, as I have some really cool plugins and stuff I'm going to be teaching you guys and showing you guys about later. But we're going to get into the Fairlight. Okay, so Fairlight, what is Fairlight? What is Fairlight? Well, Fairlight is the audio, like that is the audio interface, that is the DAW, or the audio interface of video production in DaVinci Resolve. So let's go ahead and jump right into the software, and let me show you guys a very brief overview and tour of this page. But I think you guys will find this to be very helpful, so that you're not overwhelmed, because there's a lot of gadgets and gizmos in here. All right, let's jump right into the software. So here we are. I'm actually got a new timeline, and we are in the edit page right now. But what we want to do is go over here to the Fairlight page. Okay, so if you guys are following me, you guys can jump right over here into the Fairlight page. And when we get into the Fairlight page, there is a lot of stuff. Now, your page probably doesn't look like this, because this probably is not like this, and that's probably not like that. It probably looks something like this. It's just kind of blank, and you're probably like, okay, what is there to do in here, right? So let's go ahead and do a quick tour. So anytime you add audio, including a video, and it has audio associated with it, that audio goes onto something called a audio track, and those can be found right here. And just to kind of show you guys, for kicks and giggles, and for fruits for knowledge, if you go over here to the media pool, yes, you can access your media pool right here. You can actually bring in like music, drag it and drop it in, and as you'll see, it goes onto another track. Okay, if I bring in this song here, you can see that it goes into another track. So now we got track 1, audio 2, audio 3. Okay, those are different tracks, right, that your audio resides in. Now there are a lot of different effects, a ton of effects you can add to those different tracks, and I'm going to get into that a little bit in a second here, but I want to just kind of work my way around this page. All right, so let's go ahead and look back at this. So while we're in here, again, I want to show you guys a few little interface things that you can do, mainly the view. All right, so right now there is audio in these files, but you can't quite see these. See how it's kind of all squashed? It looks like a, that's not really ideal. Okay, so first off, I want to show you guys a few different view options, and then show you how you guys can get this kind of looking normal. So if you go over here, first off, this is like a vertical slider. That's literally the vertical slider of how much audio information that you can see. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to actually expand this out a little bit, and wow, look at that. We can actually, it's almost like we decompressed everything so that we can kind of see all of our audio at a glance. Now that button is really useful when you get into really big ones, when you can kind of just bring this down, and you can kind of collapse some stuff so it's not overwhelming. But I definitely think that somewhere around here is kind of a good thickness, but you do whatever suits you, all right, in your particular project. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these tracks because we don't need them. I'm just going to delete just one of these. You can actually right click on the track right here. You can go ahead and click delete track, or you can right click and hit delete empty tracks if there are any empty ones. Okay, so now that we've got this, let's go ahead and get into some of these view options that I referenced earlier. So you can click on this timeline view. See this little timeline little button right here? Really useful. You can kind of really toggle what you'd like to see and what you don't want to see. You can kind of toggle how much information is important to you and how much is not. I definitely recommend playing with some of these so you can kind of see that, but I like to have my video tracks enabled so I can kind of see that I am on a video clip, and I like to have my waveforms, the full waveform. Okay, but you do whatever it works for you. Definitely play around with these, what view you like the best, but this is kind of my setup here. Okay, and the navigation options, I kind of keep all these on, and I like timeline scrolling, page scrolling on. Okay, but definitely do whatever rocks your boat. All right, that is that. I won't get too much into the grid view option, but just know that it basically just it helps you with this grid. See how there's a grid here? You can kind of change all that, but not really important right now until you get into more complicated stuff. Okay, Then you have all these different options here like we have in the edit page, and these are not too bad actually. They're kind of very similar. They just do a little bit different things depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But the main one that I would say that you want to probably mess with is probably the selecting one. That's the main one where you can select audio and move it around. That's probably the most useful one. And I'll probably also go ahead and say the slicing one, where let's say you wanted to slice a piece of audio, you can hit the razor tool and then you slice just this piece and you can shift this around. That's a really good one. And then I would probably say the second most useful one is probably the snapping. Snapping is how these audio clips kind of snap to each other, and they fit real nice and snug, and how you can kind of move these around. You see how I just move that from this spot to kind of over here. So that's kind of snapping. It makes it really easy to kind of bring things around and make things really smooth. But you can turn it off and on. Okay. Another thing I want to show you guys while we're in here, while we're on the left, kind of on the left side of the page here, is I want to show you guys your effects. Okay, you can actually get to all your audio effects over here, which is on the left hand side, which is what you kind of saw me have earlier. And yes, you're only seeing audio FX. You're not really seeing any video effects here. Okay, so remember I told you the Fairlight page is specifically focusing on the audio of your video. Your video is not getting affected at all. Okay, let's jump back into the software. So now, with that being said, let's go ahead and move our way over to the right hand side, which is this slider here. And you guys can see that this one controls how much width of, this is kind of your horizontal slider, and you can kind of control how much, you want to see, kind of like an accordion. Okay, so that's this button here. Now we're going to move on over to the right hand side. You probably wonder, well, hey, what about this up here? What is all this stuff? We're going to get in a minute. Hold your horses, okay? Hang on to your underwear now. All right, so I'm going to come over here to the right hand side, okay? And then what we're going to do is I want to show you guys how these track things work. So you see how I have the bus selected right now? Bus is just your outputs, okay? I only have one output. My audio is coming right out into my headphone, so I can actually hear what's going on the computer. But if I click on like audio 1, like right here, not like on any of these buttons, see all these like tiny little buttons here, but if I just click on an empty space right here in between like N, you'll see that it selects an entire column, but it also selects the track or the row on the actual audio interface portion. So you can kind of see what you're working on. You can see what track is associated with what column that you're working on. That is a really useful thing about DaVinci. I love how it highlights stuff as you click things, so you know where you kind of are in the stream of time. And then of course you can affect the volume on that, which is this, how loud it is, how quiet it is, so on and so forth, okay. Now that while we're in a column here, I will talk to you guys a little bit about this. As you guys can see, voice isolation and dialogue leveling are built in to every video track by default, and you can enable and disable that accordingly. I don't know if they'll change that in the upcoming versions, but at the time of DaVinci Resolve 18, I know 19 is coming out soon, that is the way it is. Okay, so it's there, but you don't have to enable it or anything. You can just leave it as it is. Okay, and then we've got something right here. Oh, you're probably familiar with that, which is the effects. Okay, and you can click on that and you can add like different effects, and now you have an effect on this entire track. Okay, it's not just that audio file, it's the entire track. Anything that lands in this kind of track over here, okay, that's on this row that's highlighted, this will affect it. Okay, and you can add multiple effects. You can keep hitting plus over here. You can add a monitor, you can add multiple different effects. You can add another vocal channel here. So all these effects are affecting everything on pretty much this row here. Okay, just keep that in mind. You're at the track level, not the individual audio file level, right? You're not just affecting just this audio file, you're affecting everything that lands in this one. So I just thought I would mention that to you guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and close out some of these, hit X. And by the way, just for kicks and giggles, if you have like an effect like that you have and you lose it, you can actually get to it over here as well by hovering over one of the effects on the right hand side, and there's like this little metering right next to the record bypass button. You can actually see a little meters button. You can click on that and it'll pop that effect right back up for you. Okay, Alright, and let's get into dynamics. Dynamics is really cool. This is how you can create like a lot of audio ducking and all kinds of different stuff. You know, you can do compression and stuff like that too. Turn your compressor on. You can add like a lot of character to your sound. Really useful. You can actually make some really massive sound improvements just with this thing right here. Definitely something that you want to definitely explore more of later, and I'll get more into this later on how we can do that. Okay. Now going down to EQ, again you have EQ. Let's say you want more, like, you know, you want the bass to pop more and you want your treble to kind of pop a little bit, but you want your mids to go down. You can just click on these little nodes here, and let's say you want one of these to kind of be, you know, thicker. You can go down to the Q factor and make these thicker or thinner, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is that. But again, I'm not going to get into much of this stuff. I'm just showing you kind of the main you know, the main course of Fairlight, right? The meat and the potatoes. So then we're going to get into panning. Panning is actually really neat, especially if you have a surround sound. You will love this thing right here. I like to think of this as a car. You know, have you ever seen a car graphic where they have, like, you have the front of the car up here? Like, actually, let me move this a little bit so you can see. So you see the F right here, and just the back. Think about there's a person sitting here, and a person sitting here, and a person sitting here, and a person sitting here, right? Your driver's seat is over here on the left side, top left side, if you are in the United States at least. And, you know, these are the speakers, right? So you'll see by default, DaVinci already puts the sound at the front two speakers because it doesn't identify that I have surround sound. I don't have Dolby surround sound, so it does that. But you can actually move this around and really control the dynamics of what's on a track or an individual sound. You can say, hey, I want it in the top right corner speaker predominantly or completely, you know, or I wanted it the back, you know, left side, you know. So you can kind of move this thing around and get some really dynamic sound designs here in DaVinci Resolve and the Fairlight tab. I think the Fairlight is just phenomenal, as it's like almost a do everything. You know, you can almost do almost everything in here. And there's different plugins too that we'll get into in the future. Okay. So that's that, and pretty much buses or outputs for right now. I won't confuse you guys on that, but right now I just want you to kind of just keep that as simple as possible, that's just your audio output. VCAs and groups as well, we'll get into that a little bit later, but right now you guys aren't probably doing scales or projects where that's really necessary, but there are some really useful things you can do with groups and keeping yourself organized. Okay, and then of course you guys saw me doing the volume here up and down, and you can actually you know, completely isolate. You know, you can mute a track, you know, so I muted this track, so everything on this track, whoops, let me mute this one too actually. So you guys can kind of see that there's a lot of the same things. You guys saw me do that here, and you guys saw me do it over here. So that's the cool thing about Fairlight. You have multiple ways to do the same thing. They just kind of all mirror each other, and it's just showing you the same information. It's just all about how would you like to view it, and they're just trying to appeal to, you know, different types of workflows. Okay. And then you can solo a track. So let's say you wanted to only hear what was on this one but not the music. You know, this is really useful if you had a bunch of different, you know, audio tracks down below. You could then do that here and just solo it, and you can hear only everything on this right here. Okay. All right. And again, of course, you can see a preview right here in the top right corner of your video in case you do need a reference to see where you're working on at the time. Okay, and you can customize all this. You can expand this stuff out, make this bigger, smaller, move it around, so on and so forth. You can actually hit a floating window right here, which is actually really cool. You can actually make this thing float, or you can pop it back in by clicking that or clicking this here to make it float. Okay, really useful feature if you are someone that has a lot of different plugins and you need to move this around and you're trying to get the sound to match just right. That was really nice. Okay, and now the major point here that you probably guys are wondering, you know, you guys probably won't ever have like too full of a, you know, mixer up here. Usually I don't think I've ever used this many, but I've definitely come to about halfway on a bigger film production type project, and a lot of sound design and things. But for the most part, most of you guys are going to probably see only 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe up to 5 or 6 of these, you know, but they do give you a huge rack that you can see all your different sounds. I'm gonna actually mute mine just so that it doesn't like blow you guys' earway, because I don't know how loud that music is. But you guys can actually see, you know, audio coming into both of these, and yeah, that's pretty much that. And you guys can see that this is actually really interesting. So this clip here, let me just turn this up. So now you can see our audio. We're getting some levels here, and yeah, this is actually interesting. I'm not seeing any levels on the first track for whatever reason. Maybe because I've moved this panning. Yeah, I moved it way to the center, so I need to probably bring this up. And now we should be able to hear something here. And nope, still don't have it. I don't know what I've done. I probably did something here in dynamics. Let me just turn all this stuff off or reset it back to normal. Again, you guys can see that you have all those buttons. So let's reset. What else have I done to this thing? EQ, vocal. Let's delete the plugin. Oh, and that's a really good thing too. You can do too. You can actually hover over this, and you can hit these little arrows. You can actually delete the plugin by clicking that little down arrow and click delete plugin. You can hit this little down arrow, delete plugin. Okay. And let's see if we get some audio back now on that track. No, still not getting audio. So I've done something to this track here, and I don't know what I've done, but we could always, we could troubleshoot that later. But I'll go ahead and just kind of see if I bring in a song, see if it's a track or if it's just yeah, it's definitely something on a track I did. I don't know what I changed, but you guys get the idea, okay? And actually, we'll move this down so you guys can really see. Whoops, I'm gonna hit Control Z there. Let's want to move this down so you guys can actually see levels. So there you go. You can actually see levels now. I don't know what I did while teaching y'all. I poked around with the tracks, but you guys can see your two levels here now and how they kind of interact with each other. And the more tracks that you have, the more that you would see right here. Okay. All right, and also one last thing I'll show you, because you guys, you say, hey, I like this, but maybe you want to see it over here on the bottom right corner over here. You can actually click this little, or you can actually hover your mouse right here to the edge of this window, and then you can actually just drag this over to kind of see your other track. And there you have it. You can then turn this down, up or down, however you need accordingly. Okay. All right. And let's see, input monitor. Oh, that's probably what it is. Delete instrument, and that's probably what did it. Yeah, I had the monitor on, so I did find out what that was. So by the way, if you have monitor on, if you have audio issues, there you have it. So I do like to have this right here visible, just so I can kind of see everything, make sure nothing is peaking zero. But you can also get a hold of that stuff down here as well. Okay. All right, and you guys know what? If you don't see the meters thing, you can actually click on this right here, by the way. If you don't want to see it, you just want to work solely off of this to the right. That's how you can get rid of it. And if you don't want your mixer and you only want to work off meters, you can just click on these buttons here at the top as well. And you still have an inspector and you still have metadata of files by clicking on those. And then go ahead and click on metadata and you can see everything about that audio file. Okay. And yeah, sound library is kind of cool. You can download DaVinci's free sound library. If you didn't know about that, they do give you guys free sound. As you can see, I have not downloaded it, but I'll go ahead and show you guys that you can definitely you guys can definitely download that stuff. Okay, it takes you out to an internet page where you can download and so on and so forth. Okay. There is a lot of other things I could show you guys. Alright, if you made it this far in the video, I'll show you a little extra credit thing, and that is automation. Automation is really, really cool. This is more advanced, but I'll go ahead and show it to you because it is really useful. So let's say, for example, you have a video where people are talking really up and loud and up and down, and you don't want to use DaVinci Resolve's dialogue leveler. Like, you want to do it yourself, right? You want to be spot on, dial it in just right, and really make it perfect. Okay, not a problem. So let's go ahead and let's delete these two tracks. Let's go ahead and delete the empty tracks, and I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go ahead and go through this a little bit fast. We're gonna zoom in a little bit. All right, I'm gonna drag this over here. All right, cool. So now, as you can see, I made everything a little bit larger just so we can kind of see this. Okay, I'm gonna move my playhead back to here, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and turn on this button here, which is actually called the toggle automation. Okay, so make sure that's on, as you can see. And then we're going to go ahead and click on the automation controls button, which is right next to it. And then I want the, let's do the fader, right? The volume fader. I want to actually move that one up and down as the audio gets loud or quiet or so on and so forth to kind of get that level. Okay, then we're going to click on this little red little automation ... sound. And then basically, we are going to go ahead and take the mixer and turn that on and turn the inspector off and metadata off because we don't need that. And you'll actually see that this fader now turned red, and so now it's primed, it's ready for us to make changes live as this thing plays. So you can go ahead and you can hit play and you can do it live while you hear things, and then you can kind of like adjust it accordingly. Actually we missed one step, so we actually need to tell the track what we're going to be automating. So we're going to hit this drop down, we're going to hit fader, okay, so that you can actually see what you're doing. Okay, this is actually the view So we were actually affecting it when we enabled it here, but this is actually how you can view what you're seeing. So yeah, let's go ahead and undo that now. So now you can actually see the automation, and if you don't want to see the automation, you just click on the automation view button and you can turn it off or on. But right now I do want the automation on, and I want to see my fader level, what I'm doing with it. So we're gonna go ahead and click on the automation button again to record us. And this is gonna basically make keyframes as you make changes, right? So if I hit play, as you can see right here, I'm gonna go ahead and then drop it a little bit, crank it up, drop it a little bit, crank it up to about right here, drop it a little bit when there's really loud sounds, drop it a little bit, drop it a little bit, drop it more, dropping it like it's hot, right? So on and so forth. So you guys can see that it now created an automation pattern on the audio for you. Okay, so that will bring us to the conclusion of this video. So next time we're gonna get into some of these audio effects and kind of learning about some of those. I'm gonna show you guys the bread and butter ones that I kind of use, and I think you guys will find it to be very, very useful. Okay, all right guys, you guys take care, have a great day, great week, great evening, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.